Hello guys, what's going on? Welcome back to my videos, and today I'm going to be ranking every single element from 1 to 10. So what that means is I'm going to be taking every single element and rating it from 1 to 10 on a scale. So they're not going to be in order of best to worst or anything like that. But yeah guys, if you guys enjoyed this video, hit that like button, subscribe for more. Let's get right to the video guys. Alright, so we can start off with stone or earth. Now stone is actually going to be, from my personal opinion, it's going to be a 4. Now the reason for this is because it doesn't really have anything special about it besides the fact that it's very useful for combos. I would say that this is probably the best basic element at actual, like, using this in combos. It's probably the best at combos because there are a lot of M1 combos that are possible because of the stone bullet ability, and then there's a lot of combos that are possible because of the stone wall, and then there's other combos that you could do with these rage trail and things like that. So it's mainly meant as a combo element, but other than that, there's not really any reason to ever use this element, which is why it's going to be at a power level of 4. Now next would actually be flame. Now flame is actually going to be a power level of 3.5. Now I feel like, in my personal opinion, that flame is just not very good as an element. I feel like it does need buff because they nerfed pretty much the only good ability of flame, which was the first one, which had an insanely low cooldown to the point where pretty much everyone spammed it. So it really did need a nerf. But the other abilities, I would say the only other somewhat decent ability now is actually the flame breath ability, which has 0 end lag now, so you can actually combo after it. But that's mainly the only other ability of flame that is actually good, and because of that, it's going to be at a 3.5. The next position would be shock. Now shock is going to be at a power level of 4.5. Now the reason for this being higher than the other common elements so far is mainly just the reason of it's better as a standalone element than the other ones. The other ones really need something else to make it shine, or they just aren't very good overall. Cough cough flame. But shock, when it comes to things, it can actually be very useful as a solo element because it has a lot of aspects. It has decent amount of damage, decent amount of mobility, has a decent amount of stunning. You know, obviously has a lot of stunning at shock, but overall shock is just a very decent element. You can combo with it, it does a decent amount of damage, and it has very good mobility. Because of that, it's going to be at a 4.5. Now next position to be liquid. Liquid is going to be at a 5. Now the reason for this, because the water prison stun is so good, it really does carry the element by so much. But now the wave ability actually has 0 end lag, so you can combo with it, and all the other abilities of water actually do a decent amount of damage if you actually know how to do them correctly. But in the end, water prison really does carry the element. And the next will actually be wind. Now wind, in my personal opinion, is going to be at a 3. This is actually going to be the worst element so far. Now the reason for this, because I do not believe that wind is good whatsoever. People make cases for wind being good, and in my I don't see why you would ever use wind over using any other element in the game. That is just my opinion. I do not feel like in any case scenario you would ever want to use wind over another element, because every single other element can do what wind does better. So I feel like the only real reason you would ever use wind is for this ability, so you could run around really fast. That's pretty much it. Now next up is going to be the big boy Shiver. Now Shiver is going to be at a power level of 8.5. Now this is a big step up from the other elements, simply because Shiver is just so good that it had to be nerfed twice, and it still is meta. Yes, that is unreal how Shiver has been nerfed twice now, and it still is the best element in the game. Now some people will make ideas of how Shiver isn't the best because it has hand signs now. But, you know, when you look at everything having hand signs, I don't feel like that's much of a problem when it comes to just the stunning potential that Shiver actually has. The Shiver stun is quite good. It does stun for quite a long time, and it is not only stun global cooldown, let alone that all the other Shiver abilities are actually very usable, if not the best. They're still very, very usable as element abilities. Next up is going to be Combustion. Combustion is actually going to be at a power level of 6.5. Now the reason for this is because Combustion is mainly just a damage-oriented bloodline. Now the reason for this is Combustion is actually a very damage-oriented element. Now Combustion in a lot of people's hands can actually be quite useful, but it can easily be avoided. So if you're not quite good at aiming or not quite good at comboing, Combustion is a hard avoid. I would not use this unless you are actually good at comboing, because there's not really any reason to use this besides the very, very high damage output. Now next is going to be my favorite element, Cement. Now Cement's actually going to be a power level of 8. Now the reason for this is because the last ability had a hand sign reduction, and I don't feel like I really need to explain why that is so insane, because it used to have more hand signs and was still used in combos. So pretty much that ability is very, very, very overpowered for combos now. But the other abilities, Cement, are also quite good. As you might remember, for Stone before, I actually said that it was very good for comboing, and Cement pretty much holds the same exact thing that Stone does. It pretty much is Stone, but just more damage and just more combo potential. Now next up is actually going to be Gale. Yes, You guys remember Gale? Yeah, that's how bad it is. Now, Gale's actually going to be at a power level of 5.5. It's actually going to be more than the common elements, but I would honestly recommend using some of the common elements over Gale, because obviously it is better, it is easier to use, and the abilities are easier to hit. Gale, in the end, I do not feel like it's a very good element at all, and I would avoid using this element if at all possible. Next up is actually going to be Yin. Yin's going to be at a power level of 6. Now, I feel like this is a very fair assumption, since that the only reason for ever using Yin now is mainly for damage. There's no other reason to ever use this, because all the other abilities have been nerfed so hard to the point where there's no reason to ever use Yin besides for damage. Next up is going to be Yang. Yang's actually be at a power level of 7. Now, you guys may think that Yin and Yang are the same, and they're not, and I'm going to show you now why. So as you guys can see, I equipped the same ability from Yin and Yang. So I'm going to use the Yin one right now. The Yin one hits. There is no Genjutsu stun around them. There is no Genjutsu bubble. So now I'm going to use the Yang ability to show that there is actually a Genjutsu stun on some of the Yang abilities when compared to the Yin abilities. So here's the Yang ability right here. After I use the Yang ability, look, there is a Genjutsu bubble stun. It is just very hard to notice when you're actually fighting someone, because they reduce the stun by such an amount to the point where it's only like a 0.25 second stun. But there is a stun there. It is better than Yin by a significant amount. Now, next up is to be Chaos, the second element that everyone forgets about. You know, who even remembers what Chaos does, right? That's how bad it is. Chaos actually beat a power level of 6.5. Now, the reason for this is because it actually is quite useful in a lot of different scenarios, especially with combos. I've actually shown a Chaos combo before, that one shot. It used Tengoku or something like that. And, you know, it can be useful in combos, but I feel like it just needs some buffs, some cooldown reductions, some end lag reductions. And overall, after that, it would actually be very used as an element and would be actually somewhat useful to use. But for now, it's going to be at a 6.5. Now, last but not least, it's actually going to be Acid. Acid is actually going to be at a power level of 8.5, the same as Shiver. I feel like Acid is a much better element now, since all of the changes with all of the abilities currently in the game. So Acid, with all of the AoE, the absolute massive AoE that Acid actually has, and all of the absolute, you know, massive abilities that Acid actually has, I feel like Acid definitely has an advantage compared to the other elements now, because it is now probably one of the biggest AoE to damage conversion ratios. If you guys were to actually do the math, Acid would probably be the best overall. Anyways, guys, if you guys enjoyed this video, hit that like, click out for more. See you next one, guys. Bye bye.